My name is Owen McConnon. I'm from County Cavan. I am an employee currently of Cavan County Local Development under a new project known as the Retrofit Ready programme, which encourages communities to get people who live in their areas to retrofit their homes, make them warmer, make them better, and in the event of a sale, make them more expensive basically. I commenced in March of this year. I was retired for a year. I previously worked with Citizens Information Service in Cavan for about 22 years. I retired in April of 2022 and I started employment again in March of 2023. Prior to my retirement, I would have done a pre-retirement course, which I found it very beneficial. I found it most interesting from the point of view that all the areas of retirement were covered, from hobbies, from your day-to-day operational guides, to hobbies, to playing football, playing golf, or whatever the case might be. And of course your health and your mental well-being was a crucial area too, because when you retire, the routine that you've worked through and worked with for, in my case, 40 odd years changes considerably. You suddenly now don't have a reason to get up in the morning, although that wasn't a problem for me, but you could get sidetracked very easily. Now, I was fortunate in that I had other interests, primarily in sport and entertainment, and that was running side by side and running parallel with my full-time employment. So I was fit to continue doing that. During that unemployed period, which was almost a year, I got a lot of work done at my house. I got a lot of work done at another house that I have as well. But I did find November and December of 2022 quite challenging. The days were short. The weather in most cases wasn't good. There was very little outdoor activity you could do. It was normally dark when you got up in the morning, and the day seemed to fly by, and you were into another evening, another night, and I suppose there's only so much Netflix you can watch. So, you know, other interests. So I considered possibly looking at something that might form an employment platform for me. Given that I am thankfully in good health, I'm in good spirits, and mentally I'm in a really good place. Thankfully, I've always been that way. I have an excellent family, and we talked about it, and they said, well, look, it's entirely up to you. And if truth be known, maybe my wife was kind of happy that I was looking at another option. So the other option became available, and when the other option became available, I said, well, let's go for this and see how we get on. So I'm some months into it now, and thankfully it's really going very, very well. I'm very happy, and you know, the people I work with, I suppose it wasn't the job that I would have missed, being honest, when I retired, but it was the people I worked with. We formed a great bond of friendship over the 22 years that I worked with Citizens Information. I made really good friends, and that's the one thing that I found difficult to cope with, perhaps. And if I'm honest, I'm really extraordinarily lucky in that I've come into an environment where there's a very similar characteristic attached to each employee here, where there are good people, helpful people, encouraging people, and people who are there to help. And they're a new bunch of friends that I can call upon now in the event of any crisis, which I haven't experienced as yet. Not really, if I'm honest. You know, it's about communication. It's about engaging with communities and engaging with your peers. And to date, it's been quite fruitful. It's been eventful and it's been successful. But to answer your question in relation to finding it difficult, I suppose the latter years in citizens' information, the information provision became a little bit more complex. Information provision became very legalistic. Information provision, because of GDPR, was very difficult at times to get to the root of various situations, and that I found was a little bit challenging. And when I was leaving, I looked at the job spec for my position, and to tell the truth, if I was applying for that job now, I wouldn't have a hope. I doubt if I get an interview. It's all about competencies. Most jobs of that stature now need a degree or something close to a degree to qualify. I learned over the years how to deliver the information, how to source the information, and how to help people. People coming in the new, the one thing that you need to be is a people's person. You need to be somebody that's in a position where you understand exactly where the person sitting across from the table is coming from. A certain amount of empathy, but it's all about trust. And it's the same in any job. You know, if you don't trust the people that you work with, if you don't trust the people that you deal with, you're facing a barrier straight away. So it's always important to get to know people as best you can, but more importantly, let them get to know what you're like. To say that this is not a monster in the room, that this is somebody who is here to help me. It's somebody that's here to facilitate my requirements, and it's somebody with whom I can empathize, and somebody that we can work together. Yeah, I would always say to people, always upskill, always learn new tricks, always learn new trades. I'm still a two-finger typist, and it works brilliantly because I know where all the keys are, and people think you're fantastic what you can do here. I'm not really, but I do get the message across. Compiling letters or compiling script or dialogue or any of that sort of stuff. English was my favourite subject at school. It's something that I find very easy to handle. I find it very easy to communicate the message across. But I was learning all of my time through various, you had your Facebooks, and then you had your Instagrams and Twitter, and you had all of that type of social. I do, and I find them very, very beneficial. Sadly, some of these are used in the wrong way, and social media, particularly for maybe inexperienced or younger people, can be taken in the wrong way and can be more significantly used in the wrong way. But all of these modern communication tools that's there, yes, I can use them. I'm confident using them. Always, and continue to do so, because I think it's most important that when I was growing up, I never saw a typewriter. I think the first typewriter I saw when I was in third level, it was one of the old ribbon typewriters, and I thought I was fascinated with this, that you could actually print a letter. Handwriting skills again has become very poor on the basis of these electronic devices. I can clearly say also that spelling is something that's almost a thing of the past, that there's so many ways of correcting your wrong spelling that you don't have to bother. You just tip a button and the correct spelling will come up. There's a lot of things lost. For example, when I was at school and through my early years, you calculated longhand. If you were making up figures or if you were doing budgets or whatever, now you tip a button and it's all done for you. So that skill is lost. The reading skill to a certain degree is lost. The spelling skill is lost. The writing skill is lost. There's a lot of things lost that really can't be recreated. But for an older generation, I would be saying upskill, the ETB, the likes of CCLD, various groups are offering all sorts of programs and training projects for people, and I would say please go and do it, even if it's only to learn how to use a phone, which is your iPhone or your Samsung, that you can take or receive calls, but you can also send messages, and that you can also look up the news of the day, which again, newspapers is another thing that will be lost in the next 10 years because there'll be no need for them. Yes, there's a significant change in your circumstances when you retire, and the pre-retirement course really pointed this out. So I had paid into a works pension, there's the state pension, but there is a significant drop. Now, money wasn't the primary reason, but it was a reason. Absolutely, for sure it was. Because I had, my guys thankfully are now through college, but they were looking at accommodations for their employment and various bits and pieces, and there was always a draw on our financial circumstances, plus the fact that my wife was a stay-at-home mother, which was hugely beneficial as well, particularly for the care of our children and the bond between the boys and their mother. But it wasn't the primary reason, but certainly it was a reason, because it is a huge, for anybody that retires and depending only. Now, I had other interests that was gathering me some money as well, and that was running parallel with my work. But sadly, not everybody is as fortunate as I am. And when somebody retires and suddenly they look at the month after they retire, or the month after that, they say, there's no 3,000 or 4,000 euro in my account this month because I haven't been working. So that's a significant shock, a massive shock for people. And I think it's one of the main things that should be stressed to people who are contemplating retirement, is that you have to look forward to a day where, for example, had I not been well, had I not been physically able to work, I would have no other option. So you have to cut your cloth to suit, and I think that's what most people do. And if I'm honest, 70-80% of people plan for the rainy day, and the rainy day is when you retire, or sadly when you become ill or sick or whatever. Yeah.